Hello, everyone. My name is Chang. I'm from Ball State University. The topic is my presentation is the trends and direction of adult education. So as we know, adult education has been marginalized and some programs have been closed due to the budget cut. This has been discussed quite a lot in the field of adult education, especially at the CPAE conference. So this project is a continuation of the other projects I have completed, such as the history of adult education since 1950s and the shifts of adult education research. So literature shows that the nature of adult education is interdisciplinary because it combines the work of adult education and the general background of other fields. So this chart shows the boundaries of adult education are quite big. For example, here, number one shows the academic field of adult education, and number two shows the practical field of adult education. For example, administrators, organizers, coordinators of adult education programs, they work in this area. So the number three shows adult education programs offered in other fields. History of adult education indicate that different factors such as the social movement, policies, and social events, they impact the direction of adult education. For example, policy and funding greatly impact the adult education development. For example, before 1980s, the government views adult education as a responsibility of the government. So quite a lot of funding resources were given to the adult education. Also because before 1980s, there are some social events which impact how the government fund the adult education. And however, after 1980s, the government viewed adult education as individual investment. So the budget has been cut quite a lot. This directly impacts the development of adult education. So this project, I actually mainly use interviews to collect data. However, I also examine some important documents to understand the background information of different decades. For example, I examined some important adult education organizations, an annual report of adult education, and some topics covered in the published adult educational materials, such as conference major journals. I interviewed 21 participants. These people are scholars, practitioners, and policymakers. They were involved in policy work, or they play a leadership role in the field of adult education, or they understand a specific decade of adult education, or they are familiar with a specific decade of adult education. So here's a list of the participants. The trends of adult education shows that adult education moves from primary role to the secondary role. And for example, the number one and two, both academic and practical field of adult education are declining. However, in number three, the other fields actually take the leadership role and replace the some adult educators to train their employees and offer a variety of adult education programs and activities to the employees and citizens. And then adult education now is more economic and utilitarian driven. For example, before 1980s, adult education focused mainly on social consciousness and social justice. Later, they changed towards economic-driven and job-related approach. And adult education moves from margin to the center in practice. That means they move from serving the marginalized people to serving the elites, especially those who already have a job, who have a very good salaries, and they have money to serve, to pay for the continuing education activities. And for those disadvantaged people, because the federal government did not really invest too much money on adult education anymore. So in order to survive, the field of adult education have to lean towards serving on the elites since they pay for this kind of adult education activities. Ideology of government usually drove adult education. For example, when the Democrat Party was in power, they usually like to support those people in disadvantaged situation. However, now both parties, they focus on workforce development. So this chart shows adult education in the academic world, they decrease, the numbers decrease, and they change from the direction to a market-driven approach and focus more on highly professional part. For example, in some universities, adult education programs change from traditional adult education program to HRD, and this just shows their survival strategy. And they change from the foundational of adult education to more specified program. And then in the practical world, it changed the direction to job-related approach. And in this, the number 3, adult education play a secondary role in other fields. This is a very active, and they play a very big role in the market. And politics and policy really change the direction of adult education. Influenced by neoliberalism, adult education after 1980s was viewed as an individual investment by both parties. They thought that individuals should invest on their adult education. And they all interested in short-term benefits. They like to see the numbers. They like to see the people get jobs, and it's more market and commercial driven. What does that mean for the field? That means that we need to increase the visibility for adult education at the policy level and connect to the policymakers on political power, such as the president, congressmen, and governors. We need to invite the policymakers and funding organizations to the adult education conferences, adult education sites, or important ceremonies to let them see what we are doing and to understand the field. And the market-driven approach means we need to commercialize adult education programs and borrow strategies from business world to operate adult education programs to make it more efficient, increase the market by collaborating with other fields. And that numbers really matters because both parties, they like short-term benefits. So we can operate adult education programs with the plans, goals, and established criteria for success, and to show the policymakers with the numbers and with a visual presentation about what we are doing. For example, in our AAAC conference at the business meeting, in addition to the routine business report, we can also use a statistic data and a more visual presentation to show what has been changed in the field, what have we done in this past 1 year, and what kind of strategy, challenges we have, what kind of support we need to show these policymakers so that they will bring this to the policy. Technology really changed quite a lot in the field of adult education. It's not just about changing the tools we are using, it's also changing how we teach and also the change in the market. For example, now more and more adult education programs change from face-to-face to the online distance education. So that course identity of adult education already blurred, and so it's changed from really a classroom entity to computer supported entity. And we changed from the instructor-oriented teaching to learner-oriented learning. What does that mean? For example, the YouTube videos and other new media, so they make everyone, every citizen become adult educator. Everybody who are good at a certain skills, they can use YouTube video to teach other people. That shows that the informal adult education actually, informal adult education opportunities are available for majority of the citizens. However, that also shows that there's a formal and non-formal adult education opportunity for the disadvantaged people are becoming less because no funding support, and then we have to geared towards the programs that are charged for those people who can pay for that. So what does that mean for the practical field? That means we need to focus more on comprehensive and higher level skills, and we need to train the learners where to find the resources and how to utilize online resources. And also we need to change more and more to online distance approach. So adult education in nature, it's a small program, and it has a weak research agenda. However, it has a very big boundaries. So what that means is that we need to create a concept map to show the boundaries of adult education, and we can promote the image of adult education through important community events, conferences, training workshops, YouTube videos, and we can educate the public how their work relates to adult education. We can collaborate with other fields since the other fields is more and more becomes the leader in this field, and we can serve as an instrument to achieve the agendas of other fields. We can develop the training programs for potential professional educators in other fields, and we can also read through all the funding resources listed by the federal government and find out the possible funding resources relevant to adult education. Because as one participant said, even though it shows that the direct support for adult education is decreasing, however, there are a lot of other funding resources which are relevant to adult education. They may not call adult education, but they are relevant. So we need to find out this possible funding resources from the list of the federal government. And then we can professionalize the field and offer the certificate degree to the professionals in other fields. And so the social structure constraints in higher ed also shaped the adult education program. And for example, the P&T notebook in the university, they emphasize more on professors' publications, much less on their connection to the community of organizations. And we can change this and revise the P&T document to motivate faculty members to connect to the community, connect to the policymakers and funding funding organizations. And we can collaborate with other fields through offering them adult education degrees, certificates, and minors. And we can also break the institutional barriers by serving as communities across the campus. So we need to change from the usually foundational approach of adult education program to specialized adult education program so that we can build the respect in the field and to gain more status in the field. Thank you.